Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I thought I would take today to film our curriculum review from last year, the 2017-2018 school year. Um, I already filmed this once, to be honest, and one, was not very prepared, and two, I was getting ready to post it yesterday. I went back and rewatched it and only got to about 3 minutes and realized, I hadn't really smiled the whole time. And while I want this to be real and raw and totally me, and I don't want to be acting or, you know, putting on airs, I also don't want you to think that I hate my life because I really don't. I'm just not a super bubbly, not going person, but I'm going to try a little bit, okay? Um, I did just get back from a week long little getaway. We went to my grandparents' cabin on really close to a lake. We did some fishing, got to hang out with family. My husband only stayed for a couple days, and then it was just me and the kiddos and some family. So it was great to get away and be forced to be off your phone and away from the computer and the TV and all that, and just breathe and be with nature. And got to do some fishing and hanging out and all the good stuff. So I am refreshed and ready to get back to it. So I'm just going to go through one at a time what we used last year. I'm not going to go into detail on how we used it or what the curriculum really looks like. If you are interested in any of that, just let me know and I will try to put together a video if there's any interest. So last year we had a first grader and a pre-K. His birthday kind of falls weird, so we're going to go ahead and start him in kindergarten next year, but he's not technically old enough according to our school system, so if it doesn't go over well, we'll just try to get it next year. Anyway, but last year he was in pre-K, so there's not much for him here. This is mostly for my soon-to-be second grader. This is what he did for first grade. Starting off with our core, he did Saxon math, and I have no idea if this is going to be backwards or not. I don't really know how this computer works, so forgive me if it is. He did Saxon 1. He also did Saxon K for kindergarten, and we love this. Well, I love this. I don't really know. Math's just math. I don't know if you really love it or hate it or, whatever. It's just math. But I love the approach that it takes. I love that it's just cut and dry and lots of review so that you don't forget anything. And it has the manipulatives, which are very good for my little boy who's very hands-on, touchy-feely. And we did kind of change up how we did that a lot. Again, I won't go into that detail, but it was very long and drawn out if we did everything. So there was some stuff we omitted, but by and large, we love it. We're going to do Saxon again next year. For science last year, we did Apologias, Exploring Creation, Zoology 2, Swimming Creatures of the Fifth Day. And my son loved this. Both my boys love this. My pre-K guy sat in for most of this as well. They both love science stuff, especially anything to do with animals. And I love the way that Apologia reads. It is, very you're talking to the student. It's not just and they both just dove in. And we also did this for our co-op that we're a part of last year. But they just kind of, because they only meet once a week, they just kind of abbreviated each lesson. So we kind of did the meat of it at home, and then they got to do kind of some of the fun experiments and stuff with their friends at co-op. And we also did with this the junior notebooking journal. I'm trying to get rid of the glare. And they loved this. There was different little puzzles and books and coloring pages and copy work and all the cool fun little stuff that they really love doing. They got to cut and glue, and that age they love that kind of stuff. For history, we did Story of the World Volume 2, The Middle Ages, and I adore Story of the World because it does just read almost like a novel. It's so easy to read. And my boys, I'd give them a coloring page because we also did the activity book that goes with it. We would give them a coloring page and they would just color and listen and ask questions. We did use the activity book for the narrations, and we would usually do for each section or chapter, we would do usually one of the activities listed here. Because there's just so many in here, you could never do them all, but we would usually try to squeeze in at least one art project or we would put on a play or something like that to kind of just bring the lesson to life a little bit. Excuse me, I have really bad allergies and I'm getting over being sick all at the same time, so I'll try not to hack all over you. Okay, and then to finish up our core for language arts, we started Ordinary Parent's Guide to Teaching Reading the end of his kindergarten year, and we finished it up by the end of first grade. I love this because it is super, super easy to teach. It really is for the ordinary parent. Like, anyone can do this. If you can read, you can do it. And the lessons are super short, so it wasn't like, because my boys are not, like, they don't love language arts. They just don't. That has always been my favorite, so it's kind of hard for me to, like, wrap my mind around, but that's just not their thing, and that's okay. But those lessons were super, super short and to the point, and so there was never much, like, whining about it because they would just get in, and they knew that if they just hurried up and paid attention, they could get it done and be over. We also used First Language Lessons for the Well-Trained Mind, Level 1, which is by Jesse Wise. And again, super short lessons. There's like, teaches the basics of grammar and stuff like that. And there were a lot of like chants and just fun little things to help them memorize things. And again, minimal handwriting involved. And so lessons super short. Boys didn't mind it. For it being language arts, they didn't mind it anyway. We also used Writing with Ease, Level 1, which is by Susan Weisbauer. And it was, again, super direct, to the point. If you're, like, seeing a theme here, that's my kind of style. And it was just copy work, kind of listening, reading comprehension type stuff. Again, didn't take very long, so my boys were all about that. And they really didn't mind it on the days that it was reading because they got to listen to a story and they love listening to stories. So that was also good. Now to move on to our kind of extra stuff. We did Horizons Health, grade 1. This is kind of written more for like a classroom setting, so we did not do anywhere close to all of it. I mostly just used it like as a loose guide to just bring up the topics that I don't always think to talk to them about, different safety things, different, eating right, health, all the stuff that health is about at elementary level. So we mostly just used it to like start conversations. But we also did use the workbook that comes with it. And that kind of just gave them, like, they did every page of this. It just kind of gave them hands-on stuff to do to kind of solidify what we were talking about. So I won't say it was, like, something fantastic, and I loved it, but, like, it got the job done. We also did Song School Latin. This is our second year using, this is the level 1, and this is our second year using it. We did it for his kindergarten year, and I noticed about halfway through the year he just wasn't retaining as much. He kind of just, like, checked out. So we finished it all last kindergarten year and then redid it this past year, and I think more of it kind of sunk in for him, and I really like this. Obviously, Song School, it has a lot of like music and makes memorizing the vocabulary a lot easier, and it mostly was just a vocabulary at this stage. It wasn't like conjugating verbs or anything like that. And then we did art. This Drawing with Children, if you're not familiar with it, isn't really a curriculum in and of itself. It's more just kind of teaching me how to teach art, how to teach drawing. And I got a lot from it, but probably 2/3 of the way through the book, we just kind of like weren't loving it anymore. We will probably do this again at a later date, just not right now. And it has like projects in there that you can do, and we did a lot of them, and my kids didn't mind it. They actually kind of liked it, but it just required a lot of legwork on my part, and then like toward the end it's more like perfecting your style and stuff, and they just weren't quite ready for that. So it was good enough, but we're gonna take a break from that and come back to it later. Now we're gonna go on to excuse me, we're gonna go on to Bible. We did not use a set Bible curriculum. We in the evenings do family worship together with my husband, so a lot of our actual like Bible teaching and learning comes from that. What we did do was the kids' book of devotion. So every day we would have a different devotion, and we'd go over that in the morning. And there was like a prayer in there and a memory verse. Well, a scripture. We didn't memorize it. And that was, again, a good conversation starter. We would also rotate back and forth day by day between doing a Voice of the Martyrs. We have a subscription to these little magazines or whatever you call them. And if you're not familiar with them, they are a ministry that does a lot of missionary work. And so this was just a way to keep my boys engaged and me engaged in what's going on around the world and just the different efforts that are going on. And just give them more of like a good open worldview, like outside of our little Midwest USA, and it helped us to start, again, a lot of good conversations about what other nations are like and people who don't know the Lord. And then we would rotate that with Prayers That Changed History. This is, if you're not familiar with it, it's by Tricia Goyer, and it is, each chapter is about a different person in history, a person of faith from history, who prayed and had a major impact on our history, obviously. My boys love this. I love this. Just learning about different people and their faith and how through God we can do great things. Then we also, this was all kind of like part of our morning time, our Bible stuff was. We also used, we always call this our blue book, but it's the New England Primer, very old school. And if you're not familiar with it, you should check it out. It's pretty interesting. We didn't do every section of this. We did just different chunks here and there, and it just helps them with like basic Bible knowledge. And we're not Catholic, so we didn't a lot of like, there's like catechism and stuff in here, and we did do a catechism, not the one in here. We did do a different catechism. But it just gives you like a really good basis for stuff that like we kind of take for granted of just knowing, and a little kid's not going to know it unless you tell them. So anyway, good stuff there. Then that was, I'm thinking pretty much all for our Bible time. Again, we did family worship at night, which was like the good chunk of our actual Bible learning. So then going into our reading, because our morning time, we also did a read aloud loop. Part of our loop was this complete Shakespeare from Usborne. As you can tell, we did not get super far into it because it was, even though it's like, good, awesome illustrations and, shorter and whatever, it was not like super easy because they're still kind of long. They're not like read in one setting type of things. Not when you have a first grader and a preschooler. So we did love this, but it just took some time to get through. Well, is taking some time to get through. We put that in a loop with our Grimm's Fairy Tales. My first grader got this for Christmas last year, so then we started this at semester. And then we also rotated that with whatever novel we were reading at the time, or big boy book, as my boys call them. And we would always have a nonfiction book in the loop, so whether it had to do with our history, or sometimes we'd pull like a sea creature book, a book about a specific sea creature since we were studying sea creatures last year, or whether it was just something they picked from the library, I'd just say, go pick a nonfiction book. What do you want to learn about? And if it was like a picture book, we would just read it one day as part of our loop. Or if it was a longer one, we would just read a chunk of it, and then next time it came up on our loop, we would read another chunk of it. And then, what was the other one? Oh, and then just plain picture books from the library or from our home library. We would just rotate in our reading loop. So that was all that my first grader did. Also for art, I forgot to mention, after we kind of put the teaching drawing to children, whatever that book's called, drawing with children. After we kind of shelved that and we're done with that, we just switched over to Art Hub for Kids on YouTube, and just did some fun drawing. Like, it was super fun. It kind of built their confidence. I'm saying a lot. I'm really sorry. It built their confidence in just being able to draw and have fun, and they just loved it. So for my pre-K, the only thing that he did differently than his brother, he didn't do like the math and stuff with him that much. He mostly just did, science, history, stuff like that, and Latin, art, all that kind of stuff. But the only thing that was just his was his Horizons preschool. He did preschool for threes the year before and loved that. This I thought would be the same, but a little bit harder, and it wasn't really the same. It was, again, more catered to like a classroom setting. So we did all the worksheets. It came with a big book of worksheets, and we did all of those, and he liked those, and we just kind of did whatever we thought worked for each lesson. There's some stuff that like it just wasn't feasible to do with one kid. It was more like a classroom type thing. So that was everything we did last year. And if you'd like to know more about any specific item, or if you'd like to know how we used any specific curriculum that I showed you, I would be more than happy to do a separate video for that. But that's all I have for you today, and I will be soon filming our curriculum choices for this upcoming 2018-2019 school year. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.